Corbeil here on OneWrestling.com.
I've watched your show, your guys' show.
It's Davey Boy Smith Jr. You're watching OneWrestling.com with Andre.
It's the Dog of War, Jesse Neal, and we're with Andre Corbeil, and you're watching OneWrestling.com.
We're all in this for one thing. Wrestling, and we'll see you at the matches.
Hello?
Ladies and gentlemen, wrestling fans tuning in worldwide, Andre Corbeil, your official OneWrestling.com TNA Impact Wrestling reporter, right here at the home of the legendary icon, the one and only Bill Apter. Now, many wrestlers have died since January 2015, greats such as Tommy Rogers, Vern Gagne, Roddy Piper, Buddy Landell, Dusty Rhodes, and Perro Aguayo Jr. We at One Wrestling we'll miss all of these legendary performers, and our condolences go out to each family member and wrestling fan affected by these untimely deaths. Now, I wish it was under happier circumstances that I bring you my guest today, global superstar and suplex machine, the one and only Tyrus. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing good, man. Head above water, maintain.
Now, we're going to talk about Hot Rod, Roddy Piper, and Dusty Rhodes. I'm going to verse you through some questions, answer them to the best of your abilities, and I think they're going to be pretty good. And without any further ado, now, Hot Rod, Roddy Piper was born in 1954 and died on us July 31st at the age of 61. Too soon to die. Now, Roddy's ring names through his career were Roddy Piper, the Canadian, the Masked Canadian, and Piper Machine. Now, Roddy was billed from Glasgow, Scotland, but Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada is where Roddy really came from. Now, he was trained by Gene LaBelle, Leo Garibaldi, Tony Condello, and Joe Fioronio. He made his debut in 1969, where Larry the Axe Hennig beat the piss out of the young Canadian Scot, but it wasn't enough to deter the young Roddy from wrestling and a legendary career that spanned till early 2015. A movie star, a legend, a household name, Roddy and his one-of-a-kind heat rivaled the original Sheik in my opinion, and his passing not only shocked me, but shocked us all. Now, Tyrus, what did you think when you heard the news of Hot Rod's passing?
To be honest, I know he had some heart issues a few years back, and he's been in poor health. So, you know, it was one of those things where it sucks, you know, to lose him, because he was so important, I think, about the revolution of wrestling in the mainstream. You know, a lot of people give Hulk Hogan the credit, but I really think it was Piper and Cowboy Bob Orton and Paul Orndorff that was just bigger than life villains that made people cheer, you know. And his response, if you listen to those, if you ever go back and watch that, whenever he was out there on the mic and those guys came out, I mean, when it wasn't throwing papers, they were booing, and they hated him so much they loved him. So, you know, as far as like the perfect villain, I don't think there was anyone ever better.
Yeah, Big Ray and I were talking last week on our last episode of the Can-Am Wrestling Show, and I truly think that WrestleMania possibly wouldn't have been the success that it was without that dastardly heel, that villain that needed to face the good guys in the inaugural WrestleMania. So I'm not quite sure WrestleMania would have been quite the success it was without Roddy stirring the pot.
Well, he encompassed a mindset between the generations. He was a younger guy who bought into the older generation's thing of rock and roll is just noise and anything changing from the norm. That really hit home. Like, timing's everything. And, you know, I think it made sense. At that time, MTV was just coming in. And, kids were changing their hair and wearing earrings and stuff like that, and it was all considered, not cool. And here comes the guy. He comes in and he's making these points, and generally he was smarter than the baby faces. So it was one of those things where I think maybe the only other time I've seen is when Sergeant Slaughter had turned heel. It was just during the Iraq, conflict. So it hit home with people. So I think that had a lot to do with it. Like psychologically, Piper represented, a very conservative part of the United States that the youth was rebelling against.
Yeah, the older school, so to speak. Yeah, nicely said. Now, we're going to bounce back and forth between Hot Rod and Dusty. I'm going to give the fans a quick little shoot on Dusty here. Now, Dusty Rhodes began wrestling in 1968 with stops all over the place, including the WWF, before he blew up in the National Wrestling Alliance from 74 to 89. He joined the World Wrestling Federation in 89 and stayed there till 1991 before returning to WCW and stayed there till 2001 before making his way to Total Nonstop Action Wrestling from 2003 to 2005, wrestling fans. Now, Dusty also worked the independent scene from 2000 to 2005 before returning to WWE from then to recent, where he helped mold countless talents and helped them grow. Pretty much did the same throughout his whole career, no matter where he was applying his craft, and was ultimately an inspiration to us all. Now, the passing of Dusty Rhodes really hit home with many of us, and this is one of the main reasons why my guest joins me today for this interview. Now, Tyrus, what was your most cherished memory of Dusty Rhodes? You were very close with him, and afterwards maybe we'll get into a Roddy Piper memory, but yeah, let's focus on the American Dream.
Coach, as I affectionately called him, he, like I said, he helped a bunch of, he helped everybody, but, selfishly, I had a very different relationship with him because he put a lot on me, and he would often have rants during promo classes about who I was better than up top and, things he wanted from me, and he was hard on me. I mean, very few guys would get it publicly in front of everybody. He usually pulled you in the office, but not me. I usually got my ass chewed in front of everybody.
Oh.
And I remember one time I had a match with Titus O'Neil in practice, and I think I laughed during the match or something like that, and he had come out from his, because he usually watches from inside his booth when he's working, and he walked out and he was like, "Bro, it's either play or go home, you can't afford to laugh in the ring. You ain't got it like that. So play or go home," and walk back in his office. And, I was like, well, shit, damn. You got it, coach. Won't happen again. And it didn't, unless I was told to smile. But for a while, I wouldn't smile in the ring at all. But, he was tough but fair. And then, but every time I did something well, he was the first one to pull me aside. And, and I spent most of the time just forcing him to tell me stories, and I knew his history better than he did a lot of times. And, it was Wyatt and me would compete for Dusty attention, I think. And so he gave us the first bull rope match, and middle of nowhere, me and Wyatt beating the hell out of each other with a cowbell, and getting screamed at for getting color. But how can you have a cowbell match without, And so I think very fondly of him. Like, he was a football coach, and like I said, I was lucky for a career, and a career for a guy that was a short giant. Never really I don't think I was ever really wanted there in terms of and I had certain guys who just saw something, and Dusty was one of those guys, and I miss him, but I would never bug him unless I had to come in for something. When he used to talk about being the bull of the woods, sitting on the hill, and I only walked in the woods when I needed to talk to him. And he used to get mad and say, "Bro, I know he used to talk trash about me when I was up top." He's like, "Bro, this should be thanking me for every dollar he's made in this business, because without me, he wouldn't be nothing." And he ain't called me, And I got the son speech one day. You're being punished for my sins. And I was just cracking up. It's your mine. You're one of mine, And Cody and I would have arguments in the hallway sometimes, and he would be like, Cody would be like, I don't think, bro, this is, this, that, whatever. And then his dad would say in his breath, bro, this is good, He was a special man, he really, I miss him, And my last day under contract was spent with him, so I think it was fitting. I went to see my teacher, and we listened to Neil Diamond, and we laughed, and he talked to me. And I'm sure he knew what I knew, but we didn't need to talk about it, And he just told me to paint my own canvas. And it was just, it was one of those days, like, I'll always be thankful that we had that day, And his death really caught me by surprise.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that next. You must have been totally floored when you found out.
But yeah.
Oh, I lost you for a couple seconds there.
Oh, yeah. But, yeah, it took me by surprise. I didn't know about it. I found out when I was walking the Hard Knocks to train. So, but, yeah, he was good. He was a good man.
Yeah, he touched a lot of people. And I'd like to know the actual amount of young aspiring talents that he helped mold and inspire, and like you said, kept in check and in line and motivated. It's many, that's for sure. Now, in your opinion,
it's not a short list.
Go ahead.
I said it's definitely not a short list.
In your opinion, what's Dusty's greatest quality, and how did he affect you during your time with World Wrestling Entertainment? I know you partially answered that already with your last comment, but I'm sure you got more.
I think his most enduring quality is he was unbreakable. He did what he had. He did what he wanted to do, and whatever you threw at him, he made it his. And I think that was the one thing that I respected about him, where some wrestlers had to have things a certain way, and they needed a certain thing. And Dusty was one of those guys where he'd walk in the room and be like, "That's all you got? Cool, I'll make this work." And that's what I always try to do. I try to emulate that, because that's. And he just knew the pulse of the people. He just, he got it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not everybody gets.
Well, we're talking about a guy that resonated with Black America and White America equally. And this was in a time where there was a little bit of turbulence.
Well, yeah, but like I said, he was just, everybody got it. It made sense.
Yeah.
He had no filter, and he had no curtain. So everything you saw with him was what you got. And I think people get that. When you're genuine, they get that. I think that's why I've been able to manage to have an appeal this long. I mean, maybe I had the machine backing me a year with the Funkasaurus, but people got me, and they still get me, and it's funny because it doesn't matter what I do as far as being a heel or whatever. Whenever I go somewhere, they still walk up to me regardless of what I do. So
yeah, whether you're monstrous BC, Brodus Clay, or Tyrus, you're very relevant, my friend, and you're doing a phenomenal job. You really are. Now, what's it like? What's it like? What's it like rolling with the champ?
EC3, he's one of those guys that, Dusty was a big influence on him too,
So there's one more in the pot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's fun being, a version of Double A and Ric Flair kind of, not really doing like the quote unquote bodyguard role in terms of like, I pretty much have to take all the, like, I'm pretty much the bump guy, it looks like a lot of times, but, it's a lot of fun, and we're telling a good story. And I think with all the, turbulence and all the outside, the ring stuff going on, the fact that we've been able to maintain something that's appealing to the fans.
And that's one thing. The morale in the locker room is much better than people are making it out to be, correct?
It was never a bad morale in our locker room because we don't worry about what we can't control, and we talk about things that bother us, and we're able to laugh about it. You know, anything from is we going to have TV, are we wrestling in front of a crowd, you know, are we doing this, whatever, like, we just don't have that. We never had that, you know. I'm always going to crack jokes, and the best jokes about real life, and we all were in that situation.
I saw that video with Grado trying to get your attention, and you're like, get out of here.
Yeah, and that's like a running gag, like poor Grado, you know. He keeps trying to do stuff with me, and I just won't put it over, you know, because he came up to me because he's got a dancing gimmick, and he looked at me and was like, hey, and I just looked at him like, what do you want, you know? And it just kind of went from there. Whenever he talks to me, I just walk away from him. And he's turning it around where he's getting popular over it.
He's definitely a different talent. I'm glad you brought that to the attention of the fans because a lot of fans listen to the dirt sheets and 50% of the truth.
Okay, my experience with dirt sheets has been written by people who are unhappy with their job or have an axe to grind. So when is anything ever positive on a dirt sheet?
Yeah, I hear you.
And it wouldn't be positive. It wouldn't be new. I mean, that's the problem, man. The stuff is not newsworthy. Hogan's racial rants aren't newsworthy. We shouldn't even be talking about it or caring, to be honest with you.
Yeah, we're one of the few sites. We're one of the few sites, OneWrestling.com, that didn't do anything pertaining related to Hogan. Bill's
it's just not needed.
Bill's really close with Terry.
What he said was not right, but you know that's between him and his circle. You know, and the fact that he was said in privacy of his own home. That's where I'm just like,
wow.
The real issue should be the people recording their stuff. Listen, I'm a proud black man, and if Hogan would have said that stuff to me, I would have knocked him out. But he didn't say that stuff. He didn't get on a podium and preach hate. You know what I'm saying? He ran his mouth at home, and what he said was stupid. But I think you're allowed to be stupid in your own home. You know, he has enough common sense when he's not away from home not to say those things. And pretty much, I'm sure everybody who's talking shit about him, I guarantee you, if you put a microphone in their house and they got comfortable and they forgot about the microphone, every one of them would be on blast.
Exactly, especially when you're laying in bed, brother.
Everyone's out on the couch and said things that they shouldn't say, but it's in your home, you know, and that's the bottom line.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you.
So you know, it's too bad, you know. And Hulk Hogan never said anything bad. It's Terry, you know. It's a character. It's not. He's not Hulk Hogan, and he can't be held to that standard. He's an old man. He's going to say an old man thing.
Yeah.
You know? And like I said, I'm not. By no means am I giving him a pass and saying that he was cool. I'm just saying that it was none of our business what he said in his home, and they should be treated as such. Now, if he walks out on a podium and drops it, then that's different. Let's crucify him. But he didn't do that. So, so to me, it's just, you know, like I said, it's not really newsworthy.
Yeah, I agree. Now let's roll into Roddy Piper here. I'll ask you match-wise. What was your favorite Roddy Piper match or moment?
Piper and Cowboy Bob Orton versus Jimmy Superfly Snuka and the Tonga Kid. Great. I mean, man, it was a feud, and it ended with Piper getting hit with chairs by the Tonga Kid and Snuka. But I mean, Snuka didn't. When he finally got in the ring and it was him and Piper, and the place went nuts, and Piper just powdered, didn't give it to him. Man, it was just phenomenal. It was one of my favorite matches. There's a spot there where Ace is in an armbar with Snuka, right? Snuka's cranking his arm, and he's reaching to tag Piper, and Piper's got his arm extended. And every time Ace gets closer, Piper's arm gets a little shorter, but he's selling it because he doesn't want to get in there. And it's phenomenal. It's such a little thing, but you're dying. You know, you're so entertained. And if you get a chance to YouTube that, or I'm sure they probably have it. You know, I don't know what the vault is like in the WWE, but like it definitely was a Madison Square Garden match. I have it in my private collection, but it's one of my favorites.
I'm sure it's out there for fans on YouTube to search and check out. So please do so, fans. Now let's stay on the same topic. What's your favorite Dusty Rhodes match?
Him and Superstar Billy Graham with the bell, the bull rope match, because Dusty ate him up, gave him nothing, and you know, and it was such a big match at that time. And and Billy Graham was the top guy in the WWE, and here comes this this Southern guy who runs his mouth and appeals to everybody and basically whooped him.
So you like his first run in the WWF opposed to his second run in the WWF? I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, I mean it was just different. He was in there with the top guy. If he would have came into him and Macho Man ended up having a big feud, but it was kind of towards the end. But if you had Dusty Rhodes come in and we got Dusty Rhodes versus Hulk Hogan, that would have been something awesome, or I can't remember if Flair was. I think Flair was there at the same time too, wasn't he? Maybe not. Maybe he came after. I think he came after. I'm trying to remember. But it would have been Dusty. And him and Honky Tonk Man had an okay feud, but by that time Honky Tonk had kind of fizzled out. But it would have been nice to see him in the title match during that era because WCW, he was synonymous with the championships. It doesn't matter whether it was television title, the United States title, tag team championships. Dusty Rhodes was in the mix.
Absolutely.
So that was what was kind of misleading. It was strange as a kid watching it, just because you expected him to come in. You're like, oh, are we going to see the Ultimate Warrior versus Dusty Rhodes for the Heavyweight Championship, or Hulk Hogan, or whatever it was, because it was Dusty Rhodes. So.
And hence, that's why we didn't get that, is because he was synonymous with the NWA World Championship.
Right. So,
Same thing with Harley Race. Same thing with Harley Race.
Yeah.
We'll give him the crown, but we're not going to give him the title.
At least put him in it. Him in it. People, the King Harley Race was not the Harley Race. I mean, it still was great, but people didn't realize what he was to wrestling in that gimmick.
Yeah, they were witnessing the twilight.
Yes, and that's fine. It was time for other guys to go, but I still would have liked to have seen, he did wrestle Hogan. Him and Hogan had a pretty good feud for a little while, but he's one of the best. So
yeah, absolutely. Now, do you think that it's the lifestyle with all the road travel away from home that's contributing to these young deaths, or do you think it's the physicality involved, the no off season, or is it a little of both that amount to the, let's face it, massive amounts of deaths too soon?
I think a lot of it, everybody's different. I think if you're a gladiator, you have to expect certain things, So if you work in a library your whole life, chances are your body's not going to go through as much, as wrestling.
Yeah.
Wrestling, boxing, football, basketball, baseball, MMA fighting. You're not going to walk away the same way you walked in. And
yeah.
I think everyone understands that. I think the culture needs to understand that, and the people who judge need to understand that. And some of this older generation just have this feeling of being invincible, and they're not getting the regular checkups and things like that, which is unfortunate. And obviously, I argue Hollywood's the same way, but for different reasons.
And is it hard to stay on top of that with your medical checkups and upkeep when you're...
Not in my area, because we get blood tested regularly.
Yeah, you got the docs traveling on the road.
WWE is phenomenal with their medical stuff. We have Palmco cards. They have 2 doctors and trainers and stuff like that. And the WWE is very proactive nowadays in terms of injuries and things like that. And TNA is the same way. They always have a doctor on hand for the shows and stuff. And although they don't have the budget that WWE has, obviously, but I think everyone just has a better sense of this. Like, when I'm done wrestling, do I understand the chances are I played football, and I left football with a limp. I'm going to leave wrestling with a limp and a gimp, and, and honestly, if it shaved 5 years off my life because I want to be a gladiator and a warrior, I accept that.
Yeah, I truly understood after I interviewed Mick Foley. We shot a great interview, and when he got up and literally hobbled away,
he paid it. But
I got the gist of it then,
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't understand, that wrestling, they're just physically you're not made to take those beatings, but it's a choice, and for most of the guys, those choices gave them a different lifestyle than maybe they would have had otherwise. I think the part where people is when guys lose it all because of poor money management or whatever, and then they're just left with the results of being beaten and battered, and they hold on too long. And that's, money management is something that we all struggle with. Everybody, not just wrestlers, but in general, we all, we make bad choices relationship-wise and stuff like that.
More money, more problems.
So, I just kind of look at it like, we're all at the end of the day, we're individuals and we have to take care of ourselves. And guys who drive 100 miles an hour, the engine's not going to go as long as guys who drive, 55. So, is it sad that we lose guys? Yeah, it's sad. You hate to see it go, but I also understand that it's the Warriors mentality. You go out there and you fight 300 days a year.
Well, what's the saying? You live by the sword. You live by the sword. You die by the sword, right?
And that's not like I said, but that's football, boxing. Contact sports. It is what it is. And we're simulated combat, and some of our stuff's scripted, but the bumps aren't.
Yeah, and it all adds up every day in and day out.
And we have a rule. We have a thing when you bump cards up, it's up. And you want everyone to live to 100, but that's just not the way it is. And you can make arguments, well, we shouldn't have it, and this, that, whatever. But also, when it's your time, it's your time.
Yeah.
And it sucks because those of us who love them and spend time with selfishly, we want them longer.
Yeah.
But I think if the losing Piper in his 60s, sucks. But maybe if you just don't know the reasons. A heart attack's a heart attack. So who knows? Chances are it's probably because he's living so healthy, and all of a sudden his body's like, what the hell? You never know. I mean, it's and he would appreciate that joke, but you just never know when somebody's time's up.
Yeah. Now, you guys just finished a huge, massive block of tapings. Now, was there a record set there, or how many matches did you guys tape in that small window, and how long, for the fans that aren't aware, was that window? How crazy was it?
Oh, man, we were going. I mean, we were going. You ever want to be a wrestler? You were in the mix. It was 9 days of filming. They gave us a day off on Sunday. But 2 shows a day, and and some. Not everybody had to do all that, but I did. EC3 did. We definitely. And then at the last show, we couldn't get us out of the ring. So I mean, if you love wrestling and you love doing what you're doing, it was good. It was a great work week, and it just shows how much the guys at TNA want to work, and we want to perform, and we want to do what we have to do. We can't worry about any outside anything. We just go out there. Here's the crazy part: 9 days, and we're sold out every night. Like, I was wondering when the fans were going to get tired. That they weren't. They were screaming. It was crazy. It was a rare thing.
And I heard, again with the morale, I heard after you guys were done all of the tapings, you guys had a nice celebration back in the back area, and there was unity everywhere.
Yeah, we're a close group, and I think, we missed guys, we were missing MVP, we were missing Corbeil, we were missing, guys that, had moved on or whatever. You hate to see guys go on. But, the show has to go on, and that's the nature of the beast.
Speaking of that, I'll let you finish.
But, I mean, it was just the nature of the beast. But, the core guys stayed there, and everyone's out there to bust their ass.
Now, are we allowed to talk about what happened between Global Force and TNA and yourself, or would you like to digress?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know the general specifics of it. I know that I was scheduled to work some GFW shows with Jeff Jarrett, and TNA informed me that contractually they thought he had a TV deal in place, and they said I wasn't able to do it. And I had already been advertised for it because he didn't have a TV deal. So, and their sources were really strong that he had a TV deal. So they were saying that they didn't want one of the top talent on another TV show, which I had, I had to respect. And You know, and then Jeff was like, I don't have a TV deal. So ultimately I just had to go with what TNA asked me. And then I guess their conversations over me turned into a conversation about, hey, maybe we can work together.
Bingo.
And it turns out they ended up doing a deal. And then when Jeff Jarrett showed up on TV, and I was like, what the hell? Bob was like, you can work the shows now. So I guess the rib was on me. I saw the vision before they did. You know. So
and who knows, brother? Maybe that was you're responsible for the progression of where we're at right now. And what's it like having Double J?
I'll take it. You know, because it's good for wrestling fans.
Absolutely.
And, it's good for both brands.
Absolutely.
So,
and
you know.
And what's it like having Double J in the locker room?
That was my first time actually getting to meet him, man. He's a classy guy. He's been around for all of it. He's a nice family. And he's the king of the mountain.
King of the mountain. I think they should call that title the Global Force title, but I'm going to put the brakes there. Who knows what's going to happen, right? Yeah.
Early in the day.
So there's all sorts of twists and turns coming up in Total Nonstop Action Wrestling fans, and I think it's definitely going to be worth tuning in. Like Tyrus said, every show was sold out. And how far are we taped up till?
October.
And I guess the next work mandate would be the UK tour, right?
No, actually, we have some house shows in Pennsylvania, I believe, in September.
Oh, yes, the Road to Bound for Glory tour, correct?
Yes, and then we have I believe we have a big pay-per-view in October as well.
Bound for Glory wrestling fans.
And I'm sure there'll be stuff after that as well. So.
Good. So for all you fans that have that big giant question mark, there's some clarity right here from OneWrestling.com from Tyrus. And how can the fans follow you on social media? And furthermore,
oh man, just hit me up at Rhodes Clay on Twitter and Tyrus Smash on Instagram, and I'll hit you back either way.
All right. And what about your email for bookings? Do you want to divulge that? Or?
Oh yeah. Just hit me TyrusSmash.com or GRealisNation@gmail.com. Either one.
All right. I really appreciate you coming by today, Tyrus, and hopefully we'll do this again on video. Come on a Can-Am Wrestling show again. It would be our honor.
Yeah, anytime, man. Anytime. You guys are good people.
All right. Thanks a lot, my man. Tune in every Wednesday on Destination America and see the man, Tyrus, a.k.a. Brodus Clay, a.k.a. Monstrous BC. My name's Andre Corbeil. I'm a knowledgeable, passionate wrestling reporter. I know each and every one of you guys tuning in are knowledgeable, passionate wrestling fans. That's why we do what we do for each and every one of you guys. Tried, tested, and true. And we ain't going to stop because we're all in this for one thing, wrestling.
Andre Corbeil here on OneWrestling.com.
I've watched your guys' show.
It's Davey Boy Smith Jr. You're watching OneWrestling.com with Andre.
This is the Dog of War, Jesse Neal, and we're with Andre Corbeil, and you're watching OneWrestling.com.
We're all in this for one thing, wrestling. And we'll see you at the matches.